Organizers of the pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong cancelled a vote on an offer by Hong Kong's government to ease tensions with protesters. The Hong Kong government offered to submit a report to Beijing documenting the protesters' concerns with the election process. The government made that offer during talks with the students last week. The protesters were supposed to vote on the offer today and on Monday, but they say they didn't consult with the public before calling that referendum, and so they have postponed it. The student-led movement is demanding open nominations for the city's leader right now. Candidates are hand-picked by the government, they complain. Joining us now by phone from Hong Kong, freelance journalist Tom Grundy. Tom, there seems to be a bit of confusion over why this vote on the government offer isn't being held today and tomorrow. Tell us a bit about what caused that confusion and more about what this vote is supposed to be about.
Hi, Brad. Well, yes, it seems there was a pushback mostly from protesters, particularly in Mong Kok, one of the other protest sites here, where I think the politics are quite different to the student-led, more high-minded institutional debate happening at the main protest site. Mong Kok is the front line of the movement, and it's more working class and possibly more anti-China than some of the sentiments near to government headquarters here. But also, it is considered somewhat of movement. So I think some objected to the original Occupy Central conveners taking that level of leadership role in initiating the collection of people's views.
So in other words, they felt as though the student protesters had gotten ahead of the public sentiment.
Well, the student protesters are also involved, in the umbrella movement, but this referendum was actually organized by the original Occupy Central conveners. And it seems perhaps the different groups are concerned about liability after this happens in terms of taking too much of a leadership role and concerned about stepping on each other's toes too much. So it seems that views will now be collected in a more informal way as some of the volunteers move around the protest sites to see how people feel about the next moves.
Overall, Tom, does it seem that the protesters are making any headway with the government?
The government have expressed a need for more talks. They seem to be open to that. There's been one round on Tuesday. The first attempt at talks was cancelled by the students after some violence in Mong Kok. The second round was the second attempt was cancelled by the government, but it seems that protesters now bedded in for the long run. I'm overlooking over 1,000 tents here at the main protest site. There's a large study area, and someone actually came with rolls of turf, of grass, and they've been planting plants here. So there is somewhat of a stalemate. I don't think the government will be particularly using the police anymore to try and clear these sites, but I think we're just looking forward now to perhaps another round of talks with the government.
And as you mentioned the word stalemate, we're looking at pictures right now from Hong Kong that seem to show student protesters on one hand with their backs to authorities who are on the left, separated by what looks like pounds of rubbish in the middle, as sort of a delineation between the two forces. Is that pretty much the way it is right now? A calm situation at these protest sites with neither side taking action, it seems, at least according to these pictures that we're showing viewers?
Yeah, there's been somewhat of a standoff between, police at the outskirts of the protest site. Things are always a little hairier on the front line in Mong Kok, where things often flare up between either police or anti-Occupy protesters, or simply residents who are getting frustrated, obviously, with this week's occupation. But compared to recent weeks, this last one has been relatively peaceful, certainly.
Freelance journalist Tom Grundy. Tom, thanks a lot for this update from Hong Kong.
Thank you.